Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Marcos, or VFX Marcos, if anybody was, I believe on Block 2. Actually, I went all over the place, but I was on Ship 1, at least, as VFX Marcos on the closed beta test. But, yeah, I wanted to talk about some first impressions after playing the beta, because there's a lot to talk about, but I kind of want to preface it with a few things, so there might be a little bit of misinformation on my end, just because I've kept up with like the prologue streams, but I haven't like looked at like articles or any like if there was any like FAQs or like like questions answered in like other articles. I can't remember that far back, so there is some information that I do know, but it might not, take what I say with a grain of salt. There might be things that I'm just misinformed on. I just want to be 100% transparent on that. But yeah, I wanted to give a brief history on like, I'm not, well, I guess like, if I'm a fan of the series or not, and I am, but I'm fairly new. I've only played base PSO2 last year, which is kind of funny. I was waiting till the announcement of PSO2 in the West, because I know it was a thing that people really enjoyed, but Western fans were kind of denied of that. So like I kind of knew off of word of mouth for so many years that it was like this almost like elusive title that like people did enjoy once they got in. But yeah, needless to say, finally ended up getting it in the West. And it's funny because I think yeah, PSO2 coming to the West is what spurred me to actually get a desktop PC, a proper gaming PC. Granted, it was pre-built because of current events, but yeah, ended up getting a proper PC for this game, which was like 8 or 9 years old, I think. It's pretty up there. But nevertheless, really enjoyed it. I still like the art style. It's like this anime sci-fi, like PS2 era kind of style to it. Like, it works for me, which is interesting because base PSO2 for me works in a lot of levels, or for a lot of reasons, I should say. Because I wasn't a PC gamer till last year. That was the first time I ever got like a gaming PC, so I had like laptops, but I never bothered to try to play anything because it probably couldn't run if it was like intensive, But all that to say that PSO2 really clicked for me because I was a fan of Monster Hunter, and Monster Hunter kind of, in a way, has a similar structure, right? You get a party of 4, you mess stuff up, you do the grind, you pray for the desire sensor to not screw you over, but you always have a good time with friends, right? It's that kind of thing. It's that kind of vibe that I just enjoy. So PSO2 felt right at home, and I was also a fan of the Xenoblade series. That's like my favorite JRPG series. So the art style once again just immediately clicked. Like a lot of things just worked for me with PSO2, made me instantly love it. The community as well. I love how small and tight knit it is, but they're all super, super cool. So I've been a fan of that as well. But all that to say that, yeah, I wasn't really a PC gamer till last year. So I want to preface that, and I want to say that because I don't really have much MMO experience, right? So for me, it's purely, I kind of take my console gaming experiences when I was younger to kind of base my comparisons for this game. So if there's any more apt comparisons on the PC side, I would not know. The other thing too, actually, was that I played PSO2 last year, not on the Microsoft launch. I was away from home at that time because my family decided to do the vacation, even though that was really weird timing. But anyway, I ended up playing PSO2 when the Steam release came out. I waited for that. So I was day one with the Steam release because I figured that would be more stable. I heard about some of the issues that people had downloading the Microsoft client. So it is what it is. I'm kind of glad I missed that, to be honest. But, I had fun with it, but I played till around October. Just because I feel like the accelerated rate that the content was coming out for PSO2 last year was great for the West, and also kind of a double-edged sword. Because on one end, you're getting a lot of stuff almost every month, right? But at the same time, whenever I got caught up, I could never really settle down and play something else because it was happening so fast that I I kind of wanted the drought. I kind of wanted a bit of that hiatus. Maybe that's just a me thing. I know that might sound a little weird to some, but you know, you kind of want to feel like you're caught up and you want to settle down a little bit. But that's kind of what led to me getting the burnout in October, because then like Buster Quests are coming out, and then you had to really grind that instead, you know. But then I was also grinding the advanced quest before all that. You know, it's just, it was a lot of, if it wasn't that, it was like grinding the ultimate quest. It felt like at a point when it came to like getting caught up, it was kind of just like, hey, grind this one quest type and do that for like, you know, a good while. And I know I don't necessarily have to do that, but you know, when I was getting together with friends, like that was the grind, and it just felt a little too funneled in a sense. But I'm just saying that to say that I did enjoy my time with PSO2, but it also felt like I got burnt out, you know. But needless to say, I did still enjoy it. I do still like the community. I love the music, the art style, everything about the game. I actually kind of want to revisit it after New Genesis, but I'll get into that later. So, yeah, I wanted to mention all of that just to say that I stopped in around October. I know episode 6 stuff came out. I still haven't really messed with it too much. But I was waiting for New Genesis, right? I was like, okay, I had my fill with base PSO2. Let's see what's going on with New Genesis when that comes out. And found out about the closed beta test, and I immediately had to sign up for that because I really wanted to know. I knew it was going to be a fun time, but I just had to get, you know, the earliest hands-on I could because I need to know, you know? Like, watching all these trailers and stuff can only get me so far. I really appreciate when games let you get some hands-on impressions like this, you know? So this was incredible. This was an incredible weekend. But it's not perfect, but I want to get into that. So I mentioned that, you know, I am a fan of the Xenoblade Chronicles series, right? And I mentioned that because, hoo boy, the first thing that stuck out to me, aside from how graphically nice the game looks, it looks really pretty. I love it, the exploration. But immediately, and I know some people will agree with me if they've played that game, immediately got Xenoblade Chronicles X vibes. Xenoblade Chronicles X was only on the Wii U, so there's a few people, or actually, what do I mean a few? There's a lot of people that probably haven't played it, but it was probably, in my opinion, the best game on Wii U, and the exploration in that game was great. It had probably the weakest story in the series, but the exploration was insane. The scope was massive, you could go wherever you want. You had moon jumps, you had like a ridiculous turbo sprint, but there was so much to do if you wanted to take your time. I spent hours in that game. And the Xenoblade series in general is, its structure is kind of like a single-player MMO, in a sense. Like, you know, the world is vast, and there's all these enemies and objectives to go around and get, but it is a single-player JRPG in the end, so its structure is interesting. In a way, it feels like it set me up to play MMOs, even though I never played PC games much. It's kind of funny how your taste in games can lead to something else in the future, you know? But, yeah, all that to say that, it gave me those vibes, and I couldn't be happier when I started exploring the game, because open world games are weird for me, I would say, because I can enjoy them to a point unless I see, like, how to explain. It has to be designed a certain way, and it has to look aesthetically pleasing to me. So that's why I really value a good art style, which is why I loved Phantasy Star Online 2 to begin with, so I already knew I was going to love how New Genesis looks. But all that to say that it's a world I want to explore, and I can't wait to see more, but that was like the first thing that immediately made me fall in love with New Genesis, was just the open world aspect alone is going to make this so much fun. And the fact that it's seamless, like you get like instances of like different player areas, or like different number of players in the area, is going to make this really fun. Like there's going to be like different areas for like maybe different objectives. Kind of like how the beta test was, where there was like an area for like getting better gear versus getting better levels, you know? Although it's hard to say if the game at launch is going to be like this, because in one of the prologue streams they did mention that I think the beginning of the story, at least, is going to be in a different location. It seemed like more like an island setting, which is kind of cool. So I wonder how that's going to be when you start the game at launch. You know, we might be in a different area than Central City. But, man, it's, speaking of Central City, actually, it's pretty cozy. It's funny, though, because the intro says that it's, like, the largest city on, like, the planet, which maybe it's the only city on the planet, because I'll be real. It reminds you of, like, a college campus, or, like, you know, it's like, on that scale. It's, like, it's pretty small, but it does have everything you need. So it's still a cool hub area, you know. I like how compact it is, whereas, like, you know, with base PSO2, you have to go through a lot of menus to get to where you want to go. You know, it felt like different fast travel, like, locations, more or less, like, you know, for the lobby. But nevertheless, you know, it had its charm. But, yeah, the structure in general for New Genesis, I have to say, if base PSO2 ever intimidated you, or you noticed that there was, like, a lot of systems to it, it felt a little bit clunkier, like a lot of stuff was going on. New Genesis, at least as far as beta impressions, I have to stress these are all beta impressions, who knows what they're going to change at launch. But they really streamlined a lot of things for the better. Like, a lot of things. Like I mentioned before, that's kind of why I mentioned that I enjoyed PSO2, but I did have these issues. Only to mention that and say that they pretty much fixed a lot of them. Like, the whole alliance tree, boost, you know, now that's just a region mag that applies to the whole ship, so you don't have to worry about joining an alliance to get those boosts. You just work on it and everyone else contributes, and that's a really nice way to do that now. I did not see anything about having to make rings for equipment or armor. I'm not sure if that's going to change. I also noticed that the skill tree was much more simplified. It had a few choices, but not a lot of them, so it kind of felt like I could just wing it, you know, and do what I felt seemed like good skills. I went with Fighter Force, and I didn't get to mess with Force too much just because, sadly, getting a 3-star rod was, impossible in 3 days. I don't know. I just didn't get lucky, you know. But I did get 3-star Knuckles twice, thankfully, so that was fun. I didn't get to fight Gigantics or anything because I was mainly playing solo. I did join up with some people, on the last day when I was trying to grind a little bit, but I got to, level 13 with 1053 BP, so I was cutting it pretty close for the participation rewards, you know. But nevertheless, I had a great time in those 3 days. I was playing, not no-lifing it, but maybe, 5 or 6 hours every day, more or less, was kind of how I was doing it. But, yeah, they streamlined a lot. You know, I mentioned the skill tree and the region mag and everything, but then also they fixed how augments work. It seems like you're not gonna get a rollback, or you're not gonna it might stay the same, but if you augment, it might not go backwards. Or I think, sorry, I'm getting my terminology mixed up. That's for enhancements, but for augments, it's not gonna get rid of one of your older skills. It just might fail on the one that you're trying to apply now, which is great too. So they fixed a lot, man. I really like it. It makes the game feel much more welcoming, and to me, like I said, I looked up some information, but not all of it. I felt like I could just play PSO2 New Genesis on my own. I didn't have to look up guides or anything crazy like that. Of course, if you wanted to, min-max the beta, you would consider that, but in my case, I didn't have to worry about it too much. So it was a very fun time. I like the cocoons as little trial areas. Reminds me of shrines in Breath of the Wild. I know a lot of people made that comparison. I didn't get to do the I don't know what it's called. It was it looked different. It was a tower compared to the other cocoons. It was on the southeast part of the map. I think people know what I'm talking about. If you played the beta, you know what I mean. But I didn't get to do that because I had to get a party of 4, and you know, trying to find randoms to play with was a little tough. But yeah, needless to say, I really enjoyed it. The exploration alone was satisfying, because that's what's gonna help the grind not feel like a grind for me. Sometimes there's certain ways that my brain gets tricked in fun ways, where it's if the game's just enjoyable to explore, I don't even realize how much I need to kill or how many enemies I need to defeat to get experience, because I'm just enjoying the exploration. I'm enjoying getting lost in it, not rushing to get to content or anything. Just going at my own pace. Like, the freedom of exploration means you can go at your own pace, and it's really, really enjoyable in that sense. I felt like I wasn't pressured to do things, and I felt like I wasn't funneled into doing a certain quest type. Who knows if that'll change in the future? It is a grind after all. At some point, I'm sure New Genesis will have, like, new content that you're just gonna have to drill to get to the good stuff, It is what it is, I expect that. But for now, I really enjoyed the freedom that it brings, The UI is still a little rough around the edges, just because it's still a lot of menus. It's a little bit clunky, you gotta get used to it still. Took me a minute, especially with the character creator, like the camera controls are a little weird. But, yeah. It's really good. But yeah, I was going to mention as well, I do like how the classes changed quite a bit. Fighter seems to be really fun from what I played. The stance was like a little weird. Like the movement to Fighter in PSO2, I tried a little bit and I couldn't really get into it. So I stuck with Bouncer. That's kind of one of the things I love about New Genesis, and I mention it sometimes, where it's like, every class just has bouncer mobility now. Maybe not like as fast with like, movement text, like it's not really in the game. But, everybody has a double jump, you can glide, you can like do all this like, crazy stuff. Because that's kind of what made me stick to bouncer in base PSO2, was that like that was the starting class I picked. And you initially came with like a double jump, you had like really fast movement with like the jet boost, or jet boots rather, sorry, I flubbed that. But, you had good movement with Bouncer. So it kind of made every other class awkward and grounded and stiff. So it was kind of hard to transition from Bouncer to any other class, I'll be honest. I still love Bouncer because of that. Because it just feels so free and liberating. I did not get to mess with the Scion classes, though. Like I said, I stopped around episode 5, so I kind of missed when the Scion classes... No. I missed when the Scion classes were showing up. I think the last one I saw was like Hero, but I didn't get to mess with it proper, so that's kind of where I stopped playing. But all that to say that New Genesis has streamlined things for the better. I really enjoy it. But I did want to go over some of the, I guess, not really nitpicks, but there were some negatives. Just kind of thinking back on, how the weekend went. So there are a few things that you couldn't do in the beta, which was like fine, I didn't expect like all the menu options to be accessible right away. But I did hear some complaints, and while I didn't really have to grind for ores, I have heard that the cycle is kind of weird, where some people were expecting it to change with like, with the block transfer, or I think people were expecting it to be less than 24 hours, so like I'm not sure if people said that it wasn't like consistently every 24 hours. I think that was the case where it's like people can find like the consistency in the cycle if they wanted to grind for ores to get better gear for the beta. So I totally get where they're coming from, because yeah, if you're going to do any resource grinding or materials, that should definitely be on a cycle. I hope they fix that for the full release. Like, even if it's every 24 hours, it should still be consistent. You know what I mean? So, we'll see how that goes. If I had to nitpick, this is like the most nitpickiest of... I don't know, at least for me, I consider it a nitpick. It's not gonna, like, hurt my enjoyment of the game. But, when I did get to, gosh, what was the name of the mountain? Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. But, the mountain region where you could get some of the best gear, like the 3-star stuff with the PSE bursts and all that. Not gonna lie, I kind of missed the announcer. Which, it's not really like a negative per se, but when I played base PSO2 last year, the announcer was pretty funny, just because it immediately gave that game that Sega arcade charm. There's a lot of memes with like the one more, and whatnot. Like I remember, right as the beta was about to end, I spammed, or not spammed, but I mentioned one more than everyone else was spamming one more. Right in like the last few minutes, which is really funny. But all that to say, that announcer is pretty iconic. If you play PSO2, you can't forget it. So, it'd be nice if we could see it, you know, make a return in some form in New Genesis, because, again, that just felt like the arcade roots, you know, it just grabbed your attention. It was really, really flashy, in some respects. But, yeah, you know, that is to say that the, everything else about the game was fine, except for a few performance options. So, for reference on my end, I have a 2070 Super. I don't have a 3080 or 90 or anything, because, oh boy, let me know when you win the lottery, you know? But, yeah, I only have a 2070 Super, and it ran fine for the most part. I was streaming the game, so, yeah, I do apologize for the, well, somewhat. I apologize for the bitrate in this video, but it was close to max. It's just that this game is, if you're gonna stream this game, it's gonna be a little rough on bitrate. Oh boy, it's really pretty, but with all the foliage and like grass and everything else, like, it looks a little bit rough. The graphics settings, I put them up to like max if I could. Maybe lowered like the rendering of like, you know, detailed models a little bit when I was playing, just to make sure. Because it was kind of weird. It seemed like there were performance dips in places I wasn't expecting. Like the game could handle 60 no problem, or limited frames when I tried. But I noticed when I was like leaving Central City, and this was all installed on an SSD, by the way, so I was really weirded out by like some of the performance, and like whenever I like left Central City, it would like have a hitch. Sometimes like behind waterfalls, or some like, you know, sometimes like you turn the camera and it'll dip a little bit. It really dipped a lot in the 32 player instance in like the north section of the map. Along with, especially, I think the worst one was, unfortunately, the urgent quest, which was really fun to do, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's my video card, because it's like, well, it's not top end, it's still a pretty good graphics card, right? It should still hold up pretty well. But I heard that even people with 3080s were getting performance dips on that urgent quest as well, so I think it's just something on the game's end. Again, I'm not a PC gamer, so I could not tell you what would be the fix for that. But I hope they optimize it if they can find a way to do it. You know, maybe it needs a little more tweaking. But it seemed like performance was pretty good across the board. It's just that, yeah, there were some hitches there. There was a bit of, like, lag or internet, like, desync, which, again, was also weird, because I was streaming and didn't have any performance dips, or, like, you know, any notifications saying that the bitrate was, like, you know, or that the frames were dropping in the stream. It was all, like, in-game. So there were just moments where the game would just freeze up, and then I had to wait, like, you know, a few seconds to have the server, I guess, catch up, or, like, you know, the monster would take damage, because, like, when it got frozen, I just couldn't attack. I couldn't do anything. Couldn't see players moving, so it was a little awkward. It's a bit of a pace breaker. I think it mainly happened in the north section, North Aelia, which makes sense, because that's the only instance that's 32 players. So maybe they need to work on that specifically. Because I can't think of a time when it was happening aside from that area. I'd like to know, anybody in the comments who played the beta, if you had issues in, like, the 8-player instances, or, like, you know, the lower end ones, because I think, looking back on it, it was mainly just the 32-player section. But, yeah, all that to say that, you know, I think they could improve some of the PC options. I think the camera, oh, that's another thing, right. I think the camera, it would be nice if you could zoom it out more, because it seemed like it had a zoomed out camera for the urgent quest, but it would be nice to zoom it out with a lot more settings, just on your own, you know, options menu, that'd be nice. But I think the one thing that would help, and if it was in, I tried looking for it, but maybe I just didn't notice it. It could be my bad. But it'd be nice to have a character outline feature. And by that I mean, like, there were times when with the camera where you had to fight, sometimes the enemies were, like, you know, against a wall or against, like, a tree, and, like, it would obstruct your view too much. At least for me, I struggle with that sometimes. So it would have been nice if the camera ever gets caught up in anything. It could give you, like, I don't know, a white outline, or you could, like, change the color to whatever you want in the options. But that would be a nice quality of life feature, just in case the camera gets a little, you know, a little jank, let's say. That would be a nice feature to add to toggle an outline to, you know, get your bearings straight. Because I know Monster Hunter Rise, that was like the last game that I was playing, and that had a feature like that, so I use it all the time. But, all that to say, just, I really missed this game already. I'm recording this like a day after the beta's over, and I just keep thinking about it. Any of those complaints, I think they can fix them with time. You know, I actually got to still fill out the survey, so I wanted to record this to get my thoughts in order so that, you know, I can fill it out properly. But all of that to say, though, that New Genesis is incredible. I would recommend it. You know, I can't speak for any other MMO fans. Obviously, if you've played PSO2, you're gonna enjoy this, I think. But consider if you're a Xenoblade Chronicles fan or a JRPG fan in general, and if you also happen to play Monster Hunter or Monster Hunter World, you know, you should really check this one out. I think you'll enjoy it. The grind will be there as is with any MMO, but if you get some friends together, it'll be extremely fun. Much like most other games, but you also get like an experience boost, or you get a try boost rather, so the grind will actually be easier if you do it with friends as well. So if you get a group of friends together, the community is also super chill as well. There were times when I was streaming, I would just ask people if they wanted to join, and they were more than happy to join up, you know, because everybody wants that boost, you know, for experience grinding and whatnot. So people are down to play, you know, but it's been incredible. I think the structure of this game is pretty good so far in terms of, like, you know, the exploration, the combat, the incentive to explore. I think I also got a little bit of experience from exploring at one point. I'm not sure if that was maybe that there was like a player, like, I don't know, like out of camera, and I got experience and I just didn't see it because, like, you know, they maybe killed it off screen. But if that's not in the game, that would be the one thing I would like them to add, is like experience rewards for exploring the environment. Again, because I think of Xenoblade Chronicles, where if you reach like a landmark in that game, you would actually get experience from that, just from like discovering a new location. That'd be pretty cool. Again, that would be nice incentive for open world exploration. I think that'd be a good idea. But that's pretty much everything I wanted to say about New Genesis. I'm trying to think if there's anything else, but no, it's just, you know, open world is great. They've streamlined so much of it for the better, and I couldn't be happier, you know, playing this game. It's been incredible. I've never done an MMO beta, you know, before. Like, I know that's like a common thing, but I've never done it, so it was really nice to have that experience. It's a shame that none of it carries over, but it left a hell of an impression. Tons of great memories. At some point, grinding for 3-star weapons is going to feel really funny in hindsight, because we won't know how, it's going to be infamous, you know? Gonna remember that 3-star grind, and then you just get to, like, a content update that has, like, I don't know, 15-star again, like base PSO2, and it's like, oh man, that's just gonna be funny to look back on, you know? But, man, I just want to play it some more. Thankfully, it comes out in June, so we don't have to wait long, but definitely do not sleep on this game. If anybody happens to stumble across this video and haven't, like, you know, checked out the channel, I will for sure be playing this day one. I'll be streaming it when I can, having fun with it, because, man, it helped me rediscover my love for PSO2 in general. Because, like I said, I stopped playing that like in October, so it's been a while, man. But the New Genesis hype got me really good, even before the beta release. I was just like, oh my god, I forgot. You know, like, I almost like let myself forget how fun Phantasy Star can be. So I definitely want to check out the older games too at some point, if I ever have the time. Who knows when, but New Genesis for this year is going to be one of the highest games on my radar, I would say. So it's overall pretty good. It needs a few adjustments, I feel. A little bit more optimizations and like the quality of life like options. You know, just a little more freedom to choose certain things. But overall first impressions, I'll be honest, I think I enjoy it more than base PSO2. It feels so much more free. It feels refreshing, you know, in a way that I wasn't expecting to just see how much they changed overall, you know? I knew it was going to be open world, but that was all I knew for a while. That's all a lot of players knew for a while. But they've changed a lot of things for the better. I'm not sure if they're going to keep certain things. Like, I don't know if rings are going to be back. I don't know if the tech system, or like the CDs as I call them, I don't know if those are going to be back as like drops somewhere. You know, that's how like you learn your photon arts. Oh, they also changed like the photon blast as well. You don't have to like gather in a circle with your other mags or from other party members. Now it's just a super move. Again, there's just, oh, there's so much. They changed a lot. If you just want to get in there and play day one, trust me, you will enjoy it, and you do not have to feel like you need to look up certain things nearly as much, in my opinion. You know, I feel like base PSO2, you kind of have to do a little bit of research. But that's just me. I still think it's a fun game, though. And the best part is, if you ever reach a drought in New Genesis, because those games coexist, you can just transfer that character over to base PSO2 and experience all of that content too. So it's a win-win, you know. This is a very unique case, but it's also really good for players who might be checking out New Genesis and kind of want to see what the other game was about, despite it being, you know, a little older. It still has a lot of good content. It still has, you know, a lot of fun to be had, even if you play it after New Genesis. But they definitely do feel like different games. I went back to play PSO2 a little bit, and man, it just feels weird going back to it after New Genesis, you know? But it's still, you know, still enjoyable. I might revisit it on stream at some point before NGS comes out. But regardless, that's going to do it for now. I'm just going to be counting down the days for this release, because, hoo boy, it's going to be something really special, I can tell. But regardless, I'm glad the beta was out, and I could experience that early to really cement my excitement for it. So I'll for sure be checking it out. But thank you guys for tuning in to the video. If you watched the whole way through, I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed it, leave a like. I'd like to know if people would like to see, you know, more creators talking about Phantasy Star Online 2 or New Genesis, because I know the community is pretty small, so I'd imagine the more the merrier, right? But I want to know if people, you know, enjoyed this perspective, because it's not a very uncommon one, but it's like, you know, it's a thing where some people might be more used to MMOs, and for me, I just kind of had to compare it to other games that I played growing up, you know, with the Xenoblade and Monster Hunter games. So I think it works for a lot of people. Even if you don't play a lot of PC games, this is still something that you should not sleep on, and you can still enjoy it if you like any other types of JRPGs or other games in general. There's a lot to love here. So that'll do it for now. I'll see you guys next time, hopefully. I might be talking more about New Genesis in the future. But for now, I just wanted to give a quick, sorry, I can't talk. A quick first impressions video, somewhat. I think it's about to be like 30 minutes. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time, and take care. Later.